You're making one right decision today. You're listening to Handcuffs and Sage.
Three badass moms bringing you all the true crime and paranormal your heart desires.
I'm Red.
I'm Timo.
I'm Dre. And don't let your kids listen. Seriously, just don't.
It's Handcuffs and Sage.
Woo!
Hey guys. This is Red.
Hey, this is Timo.
Hey, this is Dre.
And we have Lynn.
Hello, this is Lynn. Hi.
Hi.
Oh my goodness. This is such a special episode for Handcuffs and Sage. We have Lynn Zubernis. How do you say it? You say it for me.
Zubernis.
Zubernis. I love it. Lynn, you are so amazing. And we're excited to have you on today. And we're going to learn so much about you. So you are a clinical psychologist, but really you know everything there is to know about supernatural, right? You know,
well, I wouldn't go that far. I'm not very good at things like trivia. You know, whenever I play a trivia contest with someone, people are like, well, why don't you know what the license plate was of the truck that drove away in episode 23? I'm like, yeah, no.
And because this is a true crime and paranormal podcast, what Red meant was the TV show Supernatural, not the actual realm of the supernatural.
I'm really excited about this. So you know a lot about Supernatural, the TV show. You have a blog at Fangasms. So you're really hitting the nail on the head there, and I love it. You've written a lot of books. You've helped edit a book, but really you talk a lot about the TV show Supernatural. And I told my daughter that we were having you on, and she just about had her mind explode because she is a Supernatural mega fan. She went to the convention a few years ago, and I don't know if you know this, Lynn, but my last name is Winchester.
Yeah, you should be a Supernatural fan for sure.
When my husband and I first got together, people would say, "Oh, Winchester, like the rifle." But then Supernatural came out and people said, "Oh, Winchester, like the brothers on that TV show." Yes, absolutely. And so she went to the convention and she wore a shirt that said, "I'm a real Winchester." And so a lot of people just loved that, right?
That is awesome.
She had the most amazing time. And she actually wrote out questions for me to also ask you.
Oh, yay.
You would get a kick out of. So all of us are very excited, of course,
And
to
then
have you here.
Tell Lynn about her cousin, what he wore.
So my nephew, her cousin went with her, and his first name is Hunter. And so he wore a shirt that said, "I'm a real hunter."
Oh my gosh, you can't make this up. This is like the truth is stranger than fiction. That's awesome.
Isn't that fun? I love
so
it.
Awesome.
I love it. I love the show. I'm excited to ask you questions. So we're actually going to have Timo start off with some really great questions. I am very interested to hear your take on all of these things. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I'm really excited to be here. So yeah,
good.
Okay, so just to pre-warn you, Lynn, I'm a big crybaby, and I think I've cried on every episode, and I just might cry talking to you and ask you questions. just ignore me and go on and just talk amongst yourselves.
Just ignore her.
You know what? I'm a psychologist. I mean, I always have tissues in my office. I'm used to people crying around me. It's okay.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so just like you, I think that Supernatural is the best show in the world, and I loved it so much, and I'm so sad that it's over. But how did you fall in love with the show?
Yes.
It's actually kind of a weird story because I didn't fall in love instantaneously. I started watching it from the very beginning. So I have watched it for 15 years from the very beginning, but the whole entire first season, I watched it because a friend of mine got really into the show and fell in love with it from the beginning. And there was a whole group of us who would get together, like, one weekend or a month or something. We would have like a girls' weekend, and we would
I
bring
love it.
things, like, oh, I discovered this new thing, and we'd all share it with each other. And this one woman kept bringing Supernatural. As a matter of fact, she brought it on VHS videotapes
Yes.
because
I love
this was
Love it.
2005, right?
Mwah.
I
Yes.
know. So we
Yes.
would watch the videotapes every time we got together. And I liked it, but I didn't really fall in love with it. So really the first season I watched for my friend, kind of to keep up with it. And when we weren't having girls' weekends, I would watch it on the air because I didn't want to get behind. So
Right.
season 2 came around, and a couple episodes into season 2, I was watching the episode live for my friend, and I was grading papers at the same time because, I was trying to multitask because I didn't love the show or anything. And I
So
suddenly
funny.
realized I had been sitting there so absorbed in the show that the papers I was grading had slid off my lap. I had my pen like poised in the air to do my grading, but it wasn't doing anything. And I said to my daughter, who was in the living room at the time, I said, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing show." She was still not.
Interesting.
And she was like, "Mom, you've been watching this show for a year. What is wrong with you? What do you mean?" But that was it. I fell in love with it, and I've never looked back after that.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love that
that's
you had to
so
get through a
awesome.
whole first season before. It was love.
It was, yeah, it was.
It was love.
All right,
I
so
have to say, when I first started watching it, I think I instantly fell in love with it because Jared and Jensen are so hot.
I don't know how I missed that for the first
I don't know how
season.
you missed it either, Lynn, because they really pull you in with the hotness.
I
Oh,
agree now. I agree.
yeah. A little birdie told me, Lynn, that Dean's your favorite character.
Oh my
As
goodness.
so mine. I have loved Jensen since he was Eric on Days of Our Lives. And then when he came on Supernatural, I was like, how do I know this guy? I know him from somewhere. I'm like, oh my God, it's Eric from Days of Our Lives. And I never
so
thought
fun.
that then he would just be Dean from Supernatural and like Eric who. But for you, your love of Dean goes way much deeper. Besides him being a fine, super yummy dude, how is that with you? How is Dean your favorite character?
I am just endlessly fascinated by Dean Winchester. I think that, and this is partly the way he was written by Eric Kripke, but it's also in large part due to how Jensen has portrayed him, because he has given that character so much nuance and so much depth and so much contradiction. Maybe it's because I'm a psychologist, but I am fascinated by a character that has all these defense mechanisms and is one way
Yes.
on the outside, but another way on the inside. And
Right.
I just think I have never ceased to be fascinated by him. So 15 years of fascination. Let's say 14
love
years of love, 15 years of fascination. Let's say.
I love
That's so
I love
great.
Dean. I think Castiel's my favorite. And
Wow.
I do. I love him. I love simplicity and the innocence, and then the phases that he goes throughout the seasons. But I do. I love him in a trench coat. He's so cute.
All right.
Does
So
that mean that Dree is the Sam girl? Do we have like all
Oh, do you
representation
love
here?
Dre,
Dan?
who do you love?
No, I'm definitely a Dean gal.
Oh my
another
100%.
Dean
goodness, she
girl.
loves
Yes.
herself some Dean.
Yeah.
Emily,
Like,
And
you're out
it is.
there.
Yeah.
It is like, it's that internal struggle, it is. He's so deep. I can't. I have to.
Who do I
have to
love
say it's Dean.
more? He is fine, girl.
That's
I
so
mean, there's
funny,
that.
So your
Love it.
second to last book, Lynn, was called Family Don't End with Blood. And when I read that, I'm like, where have I heard that? Where have I heard that? Where have I heard that? And then I remember that being from Bobby on I think it was season 4, I think it was. And I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant. So this book is very special. And I want you to tell us why, because I think you tell it so beautifully on how it came to be, and then how much it's actually like touched so many people.
Yeah, it really has. It is. I have a very
And this
special
is where we
place
cry.
in it. Yeah, well, I mean, it's ridiculous because I'm the editor of that book. I wrote 2 chapters in that book. I know that book inside out. I still, to this day, cannot read Jared Padalecki's chapter in that book without
Wow.
crying. And I
Mm-mm.
mean, I've read it, I edited it, I worked with him putting it together. Like I know it inside out. It doesn't matter. It's such a compelling story and it's so well
Wow.
written that I cry every time I read it. So feel free to cry. But the way the book came about, I feel like every time you ask me a question, I have some weird story, but these are all true.
We
They're
love weird
weird.
stories, Lynn.
Mhm.
Buckle
You're the
up,
queen of
girl.
weird. Yes.
Yeah.
So I had put out already, I think, 3 books about supernatural, including Fangasm, Supernatural Fangirls, which a fair number of people met. And because I had put out those books and I would bring them to conventions, to sell, I started meeting a lot of people who kept coming up to me to tell me that it had really made a difference to them to read Fangasm and just to kind of feel validated as a fan, that it really helped them, because that's kind of a memoir. So that's my own fangirl story. And it
love
also includes a lot from all of the cast, because we went around asking all of them, what do you think about fandom? What do you think about what makes the show special? What makes the fans special? How do you feel about fans? So people kept telling me their stories. And I think being a psychologist, like you just kind of, you have that way about you. People tell me their life stories all the time. So I was hearing all of these powerful stories about how Supernatural and the SPN family and the fandom had changed people's lives. So I thought, I'm going to put these stories together in a book so that other people can read them and be even more validated by reading these other fan stories. So that was the plan originally for the book. And then one day I was talking to Jared and he just, I think, sort of offhand said, hey, are you writing another book? It's been, a couple years. Are you working on something else? And I said, oh yeah, I'm actually putting together a book that I'm really excited about. It's going to be how the show and the fandom have changed fans' lives. And it's going to be a compilation of all these very personal stories. And he just kind of sat there and I was like, oh God, he hates this idea. Like,
he hates it.
I mean, I thought it was a great idea, but I don't know. And then he kind of said, Lynn, it's changed my life too. I have a story too. And I
Wow.
was like, yeah, are you
Tell me
saying
more.
you want to write a chapter for the book? And he was like, I think I am. And
Wow.
I had never really thought to ask them, because actors are sort of notoriously, they have to kind of keep things close to the vest. Their publicists, they handle those things for them. So it had never occurred to me that the actors might want to actually tell their personal stories. So after he said that, I thought, well, I'm going to ask some of the other actors. Maybe they want to. And every single person I went to, yeah, I do. I have something to say.
Wow.
So that's how it became a book of stories by both the actors and the fans. And that turned out to be so much more powerful, because there's something about hearing a very personal story of somebody, when they were really depressed or suffering from anxiety or having a stroke or whatever, like the things that happen to all of us in real life happen to celebrities too. But when they share that story, that's sort of inspiring on a whole other level. So I
Right.
know Jared's chapter, Rob's chapter, Kim Rhodes' chapter, like so many of those have really, really inspired people, which that's awesome.
I
Yeah.
think this is such a unique show. It has such a unique cast. I know that the little bit I saw at the convention when getting my daughter, there's a family feel to them.
Yeah.
And I think it's just one of those things that just kind of came together. And it's like this really special thing that they were a part of. And you recognize that. And then you were able to kind of pull this other side into the book too. So showing it from them their point of view and then from fans. And I just think that's such a great idea. I just love that so much.
And
And you did
I
it.
really don't think that it would have worked with many other fandoms. I mean, first of all, it's a kind of a unique situation that by the time this happened, I knew them. You know, I
Right.
had been to the
Right.
set multiple times working on the other books, and I had seen them at conventions. And so, like, they
Right.
knew me and they had read, to their great credit, they read my first 3 books, even though 2 of
Wow.
them were like academic books about fandom. They read them anyway. So they trusted me in a way that, you know, I don't think that would usually happen, that they would have trusted someone to put together their stories. But they also had
Yeah.
such a close relationship just to their fandom as a whole, because they were doing conventions, you know, every other week. So
Yes.
stereotypes about fans, if they ever had them, can't hold up when you're seeing people and talking to them face to
Right.
face. So they wanted to do this for their fans, which I think that's really extraordinary. And I give them so much credit, because like this wasn't a fluffy thing for them. I mean, Jared worked on his chapter for 2 years, and I
Oh,
mean
wow.
draft after draft after draft, and not me, the mean editor, saying, "No, Jared, do it again."
What
Jared
is this,
saying,
Jared?
yeah, I mean, I swear I did not very much of that. It was him going, "I can do better. I can do better. I want to make it better. I want to make it more." And me being like, "Oh, okay."
I love him so much, even more now. That's so crazy. Your most recent book, Lynn, another brilliant title. I can't. There'll be peace when you are done, which is from the Kansas song, Carry On, Wayward Son, whatever. I've been listening to that song in my mind over and over ever since we knew that we were going to do this interview with you. Like, I'm washing the dishes and I'm singing, I'm in the bathroom, I'm just singing.
No wonder
So
you're crying all the time.
Yes.
I know.
Right? I'm diagnosing you right there. This is why you're
It's
crying all
happening.
the
We
time.
needed this, Lynn. That's
I
what this was
know.
actually about.
Uh, oh no. But this one is a little bit different too, because after 15 seasons, Supernatural finally ended. So it's like, what do we do now? And it's like the waterworks, and it's like, no, like, it's been 15 years, but no, I can't lose you guys. So to be honest with you, I can't read your book yet because I'm just too traumatized still of it ending. But I think that's why you wrote this book, is to help us deal with something that we love so much ending. So can you get into that a little bit more?
Yeah, that's exactly why this one was written. I mean, it's a very different book from Family Don't End with Blood, because it had a very different purpose. This one was really put together as soon as I found out that the show was ending. That's when I decided to put this book together, because it's interesting. I'm a professor also, and I teach a graduate course on grief and loss. So I spend a lot of time thinking about grieving and thinking about loss and thinking about what helps people. And one of the things that helps people is to have something to hang on to when they lose something that really meant a lot. So we wanted this book to be something that fans could hang on to really remember, why was the show so special? What's the legacy that it leaves behind? So it could be something really pretty and really comforting and really inspiring that they could pick up when they were feeling like, you know, missing it and feeling really sad about it. And I went to different people than I went to for Family Don't End with Blood. First of all, because I didn't want to ask people to kind of write their hearts out all over again when they had already done that. But secondly, because since it was going to be the kind of the final book about Supernatural, I thought it was really important in terms of representation that it have chapters written by people so that everybody felt represented in the book. So I really wanted to think about things like having more women writing for the book, and having more people who identify as queer, and people who are trans, and people who are non-binary, and people of all different racial and ethnic backgrounds. So we really set out to create kind of a more diverse book, because I think that was really important. If this is
I
something
think
you
so
hang
too.
on to, you got to see yourself in it.
Absolutely. And I love that on this show too, Lynn, that they had the character Charlie, who my daughter loved Charlie, and it was this is a gay character, and that's amazing, right? And my daughter just love Charlie. My daughter is bisexual, and I just think it's great for her to see characters like that nowadays. Growing up, we didn't have that, right? We didn't see characters on big shows that way. And I just think Charlie was a great character to have. Just another great thing about Supernatural, right? Just, I think it was a great show for lots of reasons. Is it okay if I ask you some of my daughter's questions?
Yeah,
Oh,
go.
please. Yeah.
Yay.
Oh, you're going to get a kick out of this. So my daughter is in college. She's a freshman, and she wants to be a forensic psychologist.
Oh, yay.
Yeah,
Going into the profession. Yay.
I just so proud of her, of course, right? So these are her questions for you, Lynn. What did you think about when Dean and Castiel kind of had an ending to their relationship, because Castiel said "I love you" to Dean, but then nothing happened after that, and some viewers were a little upset about that situation.
Yeah, and I mean, from a fandom point of view, I empathized with the people who were upset about that, because shipping is kind of serious business. Like when people ship something, it becomes really important to them, and it's a scary thing to really be invested in a ship and want to see it on your screen, because as fans, we don't have any control over that. So
yes.
we are at the whims of where the story goes. So I really feel for people who really sort of wanted to see more depiction of that ship and to not have it happen, especially because there were a lot of people who were really convinced that that's where the story was going to go. So I think there was a lot of disappointment. I was surprised by that episode, but I think that the show is not perfect. And we say this even in terms of, certainly in terms of representation, it is not perfect. It had an evolution over time.
Right.
Started a long time ago, and I respect it for its evolution, but it was far from perfect. I didn't even expect them to get to the point where they got to.
I didn't
in
either.
Episode 18. So
I just thought they were bros, like good friends with a great relationship. Yeah.
Yes.
Bros.
Yes. And honestly, some writers were writing them that way, and some writers were writing them as more, and that was a little confusing to viewers too, who, depending on who had written the episode, you might see them in a kind of a different way. But I really think, having thought about it and having talked to some people about it, I think the show was really trying to give a gift to the people who were invested in that ship. That was their intention. Whether they pulled it off, that's a completely different matter. But I do think, that was the intention. And I mean, I thought that Misha did a great job. That was important to him. He really wanted, that was his last episode, and he wanted it to be very heartfelt, and he wanted it to be very real. And he wanted to portray Cass as loving Dean. See it however you will. See it as sexual, see it as Cass as not a sexual being. I mean, a lot of people see him as Ace, and that's important for representation too. So however you see it, Misha really wanted that love to come through. And I think at the very least, he succeeded in that. Yeah. And that doesn't negate the fact that it's frustrating for a lot of people that after that, he was yeeted off to the empty. I get that
to the empty. Yeah.
it is, different, but I do think that did come through.
Yes. And I love Misha. He did such an amazing job playing this character.
And I just cried and cried and went into the fetal position and the whole thing on that scene.
Yeah.
And that was just too much for me.
I couldn't help but see, I think I was crying for Cass, but I was also crying because that was Misha's, that was his last episode. So for that one and for episode 20, Misha, Jens, and Jared, the real people bled into the characters, and this was also a heartfelt goodbye for them, and that just made me cry harder knowing that.
I'm gonna cry. It was kind of sad.
And knowing that the show was ending, everyone could go out in a bang. So it's like, oh, I don't want to see this person go, but they have to because the show's
Yeah.
ending. So you might as well just do it, go out
Just
and
give
do it.
it.
And oh
Mhm.
gosh, oh yeah.
Very emotional. So she had a question about the beginning of the series. We had a lot of demons, right? And then it shifted to angels. And did you like that shift? I guess she wasn't really a fan of the shift to angels.
I wasn't, well, my feeling about it has sort of waxed and waned over time. So when they first introduced angels, I thought it was cool. I mean, well, basically, I thought the introduction of Cass was cool.
Right.
I think
I
that,
like Cass, but they
yeah,
really took a spin on what you think an angel is.
yeah, yeah. And I think they got a little too invested in the angel storyline for a while. And I never really developed a great deal of caring about the angel
Uh-huh.
storyline itself. Castiel is a separate thing. I was invested
Right.
in that, but
Right.
not, the war in heaven and all, like, I was
I just
never a big
couldn't, man.
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel the exact same way. And she wanted to know that on this show, we see this a lot, that there was a lot of darker episodes and then, happy, goofy episodes, back to dark again. And that there are times where there seemed to be like a suicidal battle going on with the characters, right? They would get very depressed. There were times where the show could be very, very depressing.
Yeah.
Uh, and and she just wanted to know what you thought about that, the shift from dark to light, and did you like that?
I did. I like that a lot. One of the things that I really like about Supernatural, and one of the reasons that I really liked the ending, is because I liked the fact that it really truly was a horror show. It was a
Yes. Yeah.
psychologically sophisticated, emotional, with family drama horror show. And so
Hmm.
I never expected it to have a happy ending. I always expected it to kind of stay true to its dark and gritty roots, but at the same time, to infuse that with all the rest of the things that happen in life too, which include humor and emotion and relationship
Hmm.
and love. And I think that it is amazing that Supernatural was actually able to integrate all those different things,
Hmm.
sometimes in a single episode, and
Right.
do it so incredibly well. So
And
I am,
have it be entertaining.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes, I'm
I,
a huge fan of that.
yes. I love, there was a musical episode, right? They did all these different fun out there things, and who doesn't love a hot guy singing? I'll sign up. I'll watch that any day. Okay. I love the show. I learned a lot on the show about, things that Timo talks about on the podcast a lot, just cryptids and things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
how many times have I said, oh, on Supernatural, they
yeah.
talked about that.
So whenever I do an episode where I'm talking about a cryptid or some type of haunted ghost or something to that realm, I always go to Supernatural. I'm like, okay, what episode? What season did they do this? And I always say, okay, in season 2, episode 10, there was this, there was that. Almost all my episodes they can refer back to Supernatural, only to a point. I think maybe up to like season 3. And then the dynamic changes where it's more based on like the relationships and the characters and all that, where there's not so much like your typical hunting monsters and the ghost and the vampires and all that stuff. I'm gonna do a spoiler alert, y'all. If you haven't seen the last
No.
season of Supernatural, don't listen to me now, but sadly Dean dies in the final episode. And I thought it was maybe some type of like, that wasn't really happening. Like there's going to be some type of like, they're going to go back in time or something, but no, he really did die. How did you feel about that? Number one. And then, then the ending with the whole heaven and time not lasting like it did. All that. I'm getting chills right now. How did you feel about that?
I mean, the ending is very controversial. I have very good friends who I love and respect who hated the ending, loved the ending, are mediocre about the end. I mean, it runs the gamut. And I understand everybody's perspective. I loved it. I don't think it was perfect, but I wasn't expecting perfection, but I really liked it. And the main reason why I liked it is because it's going to go back again to I teach these graduate courses on grief and loss. Supernatural is a show, really the entire series, but certainly episode 18, Castiel's last episode, and episode 20, Dean and Sam's last episode. They're like master classes on grief and loss. I mean, when I teach now, when I teach this spring, I'm going to use episode 20
You're like,
so much in my
watch this
class.
episode. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Why did
I'm
you
gonna start
prerequisite for your
crying. I'm
class?
gonna start crying. It was so beautiful. And just
It was so real. I mean, so often television does not get it right,
right.
but that episode got it so right. I mean, after, just Dean asking Sam to give him permission to go,
Oh
that happens
no.
I'm sorry, that happens all the time. Like that, when I heard that, I was already sobbing hysterically. But when that happened, I actually, this is gross, I'm sorry, but I actually thought I was going to throw up. I was
Yeah.
so hard that I almost, I was like, I want to see the rest of this episode. I got to like calm
Lynn,
down.
Pull it
here.
together, Lynn.
I know.
I get it.
It was so real. It was so, and then Sam's reaction afterwards, sitting in Dean's room and looking around, and he takes his jacket with him when he goes. And I thought ultimately it was incredibly hopeful, even though it was sad, because Sam did keep going. He did keep going. He made a life for himself. He had a child. He never stopped missing Dean, clearly. But like that's how life is sometimes. Sometimes you have a terrible loss and you pick yourself up and you keep going and you still find happiness in your life, but you don't forget that person that you love.
And he named his son
So
Dean.
perfect.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It just
Oh, stop.
and then he turned old and gray and he's dying in the bed. And oh my God. But when he saw Bobby, when he saw Bobby in heaven, and then Bobby's like, and he's like, time's different here. And then, oh, you didn't know what was going to happen. And then when it happened, you're like, oh my God. And then when it ended, and then they turn around and they talk to us with all the crew.
Jared and
I was crying even more.
Oh, me too. And that was so beautiful. And it was so quintessential Supernatural, because what's made this show so special and so different, and what the books are all about, is that the fandom became part of the show. And that ending, that's what they did when they turned around on that bridge. They changed the perspective and they brought the fandom into the end of the show. And that's why we are all there with them when you hear Bob Singer call cut for the final time. I mean, it was such a gift, such a gift.
Yeah.
I need ice cream. It's too much.
It was
I think
amazing.
we're all crying.
I am now I'm making myself cry, damn it.
So this is the question that's going to make me cry. And when I was telling the girls that I was going to ask you this, I literally started crying just talking about it. And so you had mentioned in an interview where at one of the cons, you had gone up and you kind of slid you gave Jensen Family Don't End with Blood, the book, and he kind of like pushed it back to you, and you were thinking like, oh no, did he not like it? Like, what's going on? And then he says, over all these years, you've asked me for my autograph. I think it's about time that I ask you for yours. And it's
so
such
sweet.
a little story, but it touched me so much. Like I can't, I don't, it's so funny. It's so funny how these little things, and I just think maybe it's because you're a wonderful woman and that you've done such hard work to get to where you are, and that's what we hope that we can aspire to one day. And I just like, was that kind of like, just like, yay, I finally did it. Like when he did that, like it was like some kind of like, I don't even know what words to use.
I was so taken aback by that I don't think I even managed to speak after that happened. I was so in a panic because I thought, oh my God, oh my God, like he hates the book so much.
He
he's
calls security
refusing-
over to take you out.
Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
like, take it back.
Yeah.
And then when I realized how unbelievably sweet and sincere he was being, and he held it open for me, and he gave me his Sharpie that he'd been using to sign for people, and
Oh my gosh.
it was just such
Oh my gosh.
beautiful moment that I really just wanted to start sobbing. That's what happened.
So
And so
sweet.
I pretty much ran away because I was like, okay, thanks.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. But I mean,
Love
that
it.
that is like they really are a very different group of, they're undeniably celebrities for sure, but they are very different than most of the
Mhm.
celebrities that you meet, because they've just had so much interaction with fans over the years that they really just think of fans as people. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, there's still a hierarchy. If you go to a convention, they're behind their tables with their security people or whatever. But when you interact with them one on one, they're really interacting with you as a person. And I think that's partly why people are sort of so passionate about them
Mhm.
when they fan them, because you can sense when somebody is signing something and doesn't give a damn, and
Right.
he's looking up. Yeah,
Oh,
here you
yeah.
go. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
You know?
Have a great day. Yeah.
Right. Right.
So true. I just think that there's something so special and unique about all of them. And it's like a family, a very unique family. And we were talking about, what do you think the chances are that there might be a movie or something like that?
I mean, I think they're good. I have talked to both of them about this personally, and
Ooh.
they want to. That doesn't mean that it'll happen, because a
Right.
lot of things have to come together to make it happen, but they both
Right.
want to.
Well, if they need someone to be in the movie, I will be in the movie.
I mean, here's 4 people
I
right
would die.
here who they can,
I would die.
we're ready.
All 4 of us, Lynn. Let's do headshots. Let's get out there, girls. I would die. That would just be the bee's knees. Oh my gosh. So are you okay with it ending at 15 years? Do you wish it had gone on, or do you think it ended when it should?
I'm of 2 minds. I mean, I don't know that I ever would have been ready for it to end. I'm sad that it ended. I miss
Yeah.
it terribly. It's a huge part of my life, because it's not just watching the show, it's also the website and the books and the
Yes.
conventions. I mean, it's not my full-time job, but it's like my other full-time job that I love. It's the job
It's your
I love.
passion. Right.
Right,
You love
right.
it.
So I don't think I ever would have been ready for it to end, but I do think that with the configuration that they had of people that were working on it, I think they were kind of getting to a point where they didn't know where to go, and that was showing. I do think there were episodes in the last seasons that it struggled sometimes to really know where the writing should go and know where to take the characters. So I feel I empathize for them around that. So I
Yeah.
don't quibble with the fact that probably there was a good reason for them ending
Mhm.
it. And I also, once you have children who are in school, then you're going to be away from your children when you're filming in another country. And
Right.
I empathize with that as well. So
Mm.
I don't have any animosity. I understand the reasons for
Mhm.
ending it, but I don't think just selfishly, I didn't want it to end. And I'm
Yes, let's
still
all be
sad.
selfish. Keep going. Never stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Forever. Right.
Yeah.
I just it was such a good show. They did an amazing job. I loved the cast. I loved the characters that they built. Rowena, come on. Hello.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
a favorite of
Fantastic
mine.
person. Oh, mwah. Everything I love her. I take all my mothering tips from her. So I'm doing a real good job.
I don't know if that's the best
No,
idea.
it's perfect, Lynn. I've got it all worked out.
If someone were to ask me what my favorite episode was, like I couldn't pick. Like there's just way too many. But there's this
I know
thing
mine.
that I can't get over, and I can watch it over and over again. It okay, I took a picture of it real quick so that I can give it justice here. What episode was it? So it was season 4, episode 6, where Dean's having a little bit of issues, and they play Eye of the Tiger, and he's kind of like, just, I'm gonna just blare my music and baby and just rock out, and that's what I'm doing at this point. And then when they cut, and he continued on lip singing and dancing in the car, and then at the end, like, they're like, yeah, and he's just like all proud of himself, just smiling away. You really got to see what kind of person he really is, and I could just watch that all day long. Do you have a favorite episode, Lynn?
It's just too cute.
That is a great episode. And actually that really shows what kind of set they had. I mean, so much
Yeah.
of what made the show special too is the people, the cast and the crew. I think I was on the set 5 times to watch filming, and every time
Likey.
I was so impressed by just it just works like a well-oiled machine, and they are so funny. They're always goofing off with each other, and it's a fun place to be. Like, I was always like, this is great every time I'm on. It's like, I
This is
want to just
good.
live here.
Another rough day at work, Lynn. I feel so sorry for you.
Yeah, those 5 days were, boy, I feel bad for
Awful.
me. That was
Awful.
tough. Yeah.
So do you have a favorite episode?
Do you have a favorite?
I mean, my go-to, I wouldn't say it's I don't want to call it my favorite episode, but my go-to episode when I just like want Supernatural to make me feel better is The French Mistake. I just love watching it. I can put on the bad acting scene and I will laugh, even if I have had the worst day in the world. But I love Baby. Baby's one of my favorites. I love fan fiction, like the 200th episode, the musical episode.
Mhm.
I love Swan Song, such an emotional episode. And now the finale is up there in my top 10 episodes too.
Yeah.
I love the Groundhog Day episode. I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
the name of that
Mystery
episode.
Spot.
I love it.
That's a good
I
one
love
too.
it.
Yeah.
I love it. I could watch that one all day, every day.
Yeah.
How all these little intricacies, because it makes you think about the bigger picture in the world, all the little things that we choose and what chance thing could happen because you made that choice. I don't know. I love that episode.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant episode. That's such a well-written episode. Oh my gosh, so subtle.
I bet. Yeah.
And I don't do subtle. So
It's both
I love it.
slapstick and subtle at the same time, which is interesting but true.
All
Right.
the different ways he dies, even if he gets bacon or sausage. I just love it. Love it. Oh my gosh, this has been so much fun. Do you guys have any other questions for Lynn? I thoroughly enjoyed all of this.
Oh, I can talk to you, Lynn, for hours and hours and hours. I think, I don't know. I think I'm good. I think if I talk anymore, I'll either just bawl my eyes out or it'll be like a 10-hour answer to my question.
I think that we're really lucky, Lynn, to have you come on and share this time with us and share your experiences. And I know that when you're in the movie, you will tell them to call us. So write that down.
I sure
Okay.
will. I absolutely will.
I do feel like you're going to forget, Lynn. Okay, but I loved having this experience with you, and I love that my daughter, shared her love of the show, and I got to ask you these questions for her, so I can't wait to tell her what you said, and it was all so great. I just
Tell her
really appreciate
thank you. Thank you so much for asking me questions. I really appreciate it. And this is not a hardship for me. It's fun for me to talk about the thing that I love. So thank you for giving me an opportunity and for having such good questions. I really enjoyed it.
That's
this
so
was
awesome.
fun.
Yeah, that's
Thank you,
what we do
Lynn.
on the podcast. My passion is the paranormal, and Red and Dre's passion is true crime. And when I have to, sit down to do some research on what I want to do for the next week, I have no problem at all. It's something that I do that I love. And I can't wait to watch, or not watch, but to read There'll Be Peace, because now I know that it's gonna give me some comfort.
Yeah, I mean, it might make you cry, but
Yes.
they'll be good tears. They'll be like
Okay.
tears of comfort and inspiration.
We'll call
Okay.
you and we'll be like, we need help. It's
I
a
know.
problem.
Therapy session. My email. Just let me know if you need some therapy after. I'll be glad to
She's
provide
also
it.
our podcast therapist. We probably
right.
need that.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Let's get it all out in the open right now. Okay. Thank you so much, Lynn. We really
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thanks
Yes.
for having me.
Absolutely.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye. We just finished our interview with Lynn Zubernis.
Oh my God.
I immediately messed up her name. And we still had an amazing interview because Lynn is legit the best. I had such a good time. Did you guys have a good time?
Oh my gosh, it was
was
so
so
much
fun.
fun, and
I loved it.
everything and more. And it was a blast. It was so, I could not believe that we were talking to somebody's that close to, all the cast and characters, and she knew like everything we talked about, she had an answer for. It was so awesome.
Oh,
She is the real
just
deal.
so
She
smart.
Yeah.
Yes, and she is a supernatural fangirl. She knows all about it.
And
I
we now
loved it.
have her on retainer as our podcast psychologist. So
Yeah.
we are
she's
going
gonna fix
to be
what's
fine.
happening. Okay. Thank goodness, because insurance.
Right.
I'm gonna have
can
to
get
change
tricky.
her email real soon.
I was on this podcast and they're nutbags and they need help. I loved every moment of that. So thank you, Lynn, so much. As soon as the Supernatural movie gets the green light, she said, you guys heard her, we will be in the
We're
movie,
on.
right? Yes,
Mhm.
for sure.
Unless she
I'm
forgets.
going to hang on to that.
I will
So-
even kiss Jensen Ackles or Jared
If you
Padalecki
have to.
or Misha Collins, one of the three. I will kiss
I
them
mean-
if I really have to.
You'll take one for the team.
Yeah.
Thoughtful.
Mhm.
That was thoughtful. I loved it. So it's time for
Badass story of the week.
Of the week.
Woo!
professional.
You guys are gonna love this. It's super tied into our topic to Lynn. And I know she touched on it a little bit about how Jared was battling some depression. And then in the book, I did read most of the book, but I had to skip to his paragraph. And it is heart-wrenching.
Mhm.
It's really deep and it's hard, especially when you've dealt with depression, to hear this. But there did come some good from it. And there's a really good story about what the fans did for him. Did you read this, Timo?
No.
About how he walked in. He walked into to an event, and apparently like a bunch of the fans had these bracelets on, and it's like his whole thing was like hashtag always keep fighting or AKF. And so everybody had these like little lights on. He thought they were like lighters, or they had their phone lights on or something like that. And in reality, it was like a bunch of them had bracelets that had the hashtag always keep fighting. And it was just like so heartwarming to see that he had opened up about his depression, and his fans were like, yeah, we get that. And we're here to support you too. So I'm like listening to the Audible, and I'm just like, it hurts. It's like, we're all there. He's a superstar, but we all have depression. And so because he has the reach that he has, he went through represent.com, and he now sells t-shirts and shirts that have the hashtag always keep fighting on it.
Ooh.
And so it's like this campaign that he has. And so they have a shirt with both Jared and Jensen on it. And it's like basically like a half face. One's Jared, one's Jensen. And it says, Moose and Squirrel say, always keep fighting.
I love it.
It's just so beautiful. The proceeds do get donated to another nonprofit that's dedicated to representing hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. So it exists to encourage, inform, inspire, and also to invest directly into treatment and recovery. So you can go to represent.com to get one of these. They have t-shirts, they have sweaters, they have all kinds of different really cool stuff. I mean, there's something there for everybody, you know, like they don't just have that one with their face on there. They have all kinds of different stuff on there.
I love it.
So
Ooh,
they're badasses on top of
squirrel.
being, you know,
Fighting. Ah, I love it.
always
Yes,
keep
of
fighting,
course
baby.
they are. We just
Yeah.
can't be pretty boys. We have to be awesome, world-loving boys, you know? Come on.
Just the
Yeah.
worst.
The
Which
package.
makes
Just
it even
the
more
yeah.
awesome, right? I mean,
Uh-uh.
it couldn't be
Makes
better.
me sick.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
They are true badasses. They are badasses. That's a great badass. I love that, you know, even though they're on Supernatural and they're super hot, they're doing some super good. So that's a good badass
Mhm.
story. I
Yeah.
dig it.
Yay,
Yay, Jay!
Yay.
All right, y'all. You can check us out on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. You can be a badass by checking out our Patreon page. You choose the level you want to support your fave gals, and you get some fun swag in return. Some really cute stuff is going out this week. And we are always available to you if you want to email us at handcuffsandsage@gmail.com. And our website is handcuffsandsagepodcast.com. And we just appreciate everyone and their support and the Patreon love and the messages and Lynn. And I'm having a moment of just pure and total happiness right now, you guys. I
Yes.
feel
Yeah.
it. It feels
Yeah.
good.
Euphoria,
I love
man.
it.
Mm.
It's so fun to do this. I never want to stop. I dig it. I dig all of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
You guys ready?
Yeah, it was so much fun just hanging out with Lynn tonight and just laughing, and it was just
And
perfect.
crying.
Crying too. Yeah.
I had to
Laughing
bring the
and
tissue out,
crying.
guys.
I'm very surprised that I was the one that least cried on the interview. You guys were
Apparently.
ball babies. God.
It was emotional. She's a therapist. It all came out. It was great. It was
Which
so
is
great.
crazy
So
because
fun.
you're such an empath, Timo. Like I was like, yeah.
I think I don't know. I don't think I wanted to cry, and I think maybe the thought of me crying and not being able to like get back to like normal
Yeah.
was the
Mhm.
issue. So I kind of held it back, and that's why the one part that I did cry the most, I like waited to the very end just in case that.
Mhm. You're a professional.
I am,
Good
yeah.
thinking.
Uh-huh.
I am just so impressed with you all day.
Thank you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And remember, we do
do
what we want.
Cha-cha.
Ooh, great day.
Yeah. And if we have the copyright, I would end with "Carry on my way, son." But you know, I sound too much like the actual song, so I can't.
Amazing. I couldn't even tell that it wasn't you. So how
I
about
know.
that?
Also, we all wore our hooker makeup today, so
Yeah.
that's good.
Oh.
Who wore the hooker makeup best? All right. Good night.
Bye, love you guys.
Love ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Handcuffs and Sage is hosted by Red, Timo, and Trey in a shitty guest room in Los Angeles.
Theme music is Leave Now by We Are Wasted. Cover art done by Megan Winchester.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Show us some love on iTunes. Be a badass and do what you want. Until next time.